I wish President Biden was 50, but 5-year-old me who wanted to be president of the United States would not want this poly-crisis that threatens to destroy oil-based civilization. Speaking of, Exxon, why did you buy Guyana's entire offshore oil fields for $53 billion? Stop killing the planet for your bonuses! We're at 1 degree C now, 1.5 is likely, but we can't stop 2. At 2, 99% of coral reefs are dead. At 3, the Amazon rainforest turns into grassland. At 4, the methane from the bodies of dead woolly mammoths and prehistoric viruses we have no immunity to are released by the Siberian permafrost. It's not that other issues aren't important, but every issue is on this planet. And so we need a government that doesn't drill, baby, drill. 8-year-old me cried after the 2000 election. I predicted Florida going to Bush, but I thought Gore would get New Hampshire and Ohio. Still, I was mostly upset because Gore said he would save the whales. Meanwhile, Biden's Inflation Reduction Act invested $370 billion in green energy and climate change mitigation, including a 41% reduction in 2005 emissions by 2030. Environmental justice initiatives for disadvantaged communities, underwriting heat pumps to replace air conditioning, and more. All paid for by taxes on the rich. I would have focused more on high-speed rail and electric buses instead of electric cars, yet this has created a generation of American green manufacturing jobs. The health of one old white man should not have to be the last barrier between democracy and authoritarianism, but Joe Biden is that. I understand why people criticize President Biden on Gaza, but he's working for a sustainable ceasefire in exchange for human beings who were kidnapped by terrorists and juggling several impossible situations on a schedule that would cause all of us to collapse. I don't buy many of the student protesters' slogans, and I also don't support the few Columbia protesters who trapped a maintenance worker with them, or those who just vandalized statues outside the White House that people now have to clean up. However, I support their right to speak, and I will not criticize an Arab American deciding not to vote for Biden because they lost someone. I lost someone on 9/11, so I can't help but feel for all hostages and civilians. And Bush should not be painted in Texas, but in The Hague with Netanyahu and Hamas leaders. Yet people in swing states who do not have family in Gaza should not stay home or go third party. I'm sorry to be blunt, but America is a place where we may disagree on what we say, but defend to the death our right to say it. I want all the women in my life to be able to make their own healthcare choices, and Biden would codify Roe. Inflation continues to be a problem, but rate hikes are cooling it. I don't like Biden's new border restrictions, but Trump torpedoed the reasonable border bill that would have hired new asylum judges. Biden has made positive change but needs a second term to finish his work. As FDR said in World War II, don't change horses in midstream. So, to save the freedoms young people like you and me fought and died for 80 years ago on the shores of Normandy, we need to counteract this information magnified by internet and information bubbles and AI. I know we're all tired of lesser of two evils politics and the Electoral College, but just 40,000 people, less than the max capacity of Nat Stadium in 3 states, would re-elect an unhinged insurrectionist and recently convicted felon who would co-opt the National Guard to invade blue states, track women's pregnancies like it's fucking Handmaid's Tale, shoot and deport pro-Palestinian protesters in cities he calls rat holes that often are a majority black and brown, fire any federal employees who prioritize their oath to the Constitution of the United States of America over him, continue to cut taxes for the wealthy and corporations, muzzle pro-consumer agencies like the CFPB and FTC, allowing monopolistic price gouging to continue on everything from food to housing, hound trans people like me back into the shadows, imprison political opponents, and empower local police to deport 11 million people. But he won't actually have a process for this, the Muslim ban or the family separation policy. ICE goons will just grab anyone brown they don't like. I could go on, but Trump's so desperate to stay out of prison that he'll commandeer the military. I remember another document that listed grievances against a king 248 years ago next month. Declaration of Independence. Then, as Patrick Henry said, I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. So, I'm kicking off Hot Democracy Summer with free lectures on the Constitution, such as how Congress can block the Supreme Court from ever hearing cases on abortion ever again. On TikTok and YouTube Live at History of Flights Productions, and on Instagram at officialdcshepard. I'll be sure to tell you my sources so you can read for yourself and welcome constructive feedback. We should also ask deeper questions of anything we read, especially if we agree with it. Just because President Biden is the only competent candidate doesn't mean I like it. But our power doesn't end at the ballot box. Once he's in for 4 stable years and America isn't Hungary, then we can not just save democracy, but fix it together.